probably the worst closing day experience I've ever had. I think it's happened to me twice. Is either it was one time it happened with a buyer, one time it happened with a seller. But as it turns out, the as the buyer's moving truck pulls up, the moving truck is still in the driveway for the seller, and that's something that's really hard to avoid. Actually, I'd like to say I solved that problem. The day of, but I tend to have to preempt it. I mean, it's really tough. You can't be at someone's house necessarily at, 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, the day of closing, and, make sure they're up and have coffee and get them out of bed, right? So, that's a really tough circumstance. I mean, by the letter of the contract, the purchase and sale agreement, you actually have, as a seller, you have until 6 p.m. to get out of your house. And oftentimes, and again, I've had it happen a couple of times where it's 9, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and the seller's not out, and the buyer is sitting there with their moving truck ready to come in. So, how do I solve that now? I've been in the business 15 years. I get ahead of it a little bit. So as my clients are coming up for a closing, I'll ask them how packing is going, and I'll ask them what their moving day is, and sort of preempt that process a little bit. And of course, I find for most people, it's not necessarily an issue unless they are actually moving on the closing day, which is extremely stressful and challenging to do because there's a lot of moving parts. I find for the vast majority of my clients, it's about, for them, they like to move a few days ahead of time or a week ahead of time so they have time to move their delicates, TVs and stereos and, instruments and things like that, because they don't want the mover to move those. So, but on the couple of occasions over the years where buyers and sellers close on the day of closing, it can present a challenge. So, you know what? I'd actually love to hear from you in the comments below. What is your worst closing day experience you've had?